In the next video, we will explore the different districts of Abuja to more detail. The administrative and governance structure of Abuja is quite complex and unique as the city isn't governed like cities in other states of the country. Recall that the Federal Capital Development Authority was created in 1976 to oversee the infrastructure and physical development of FCT. The focus of the FCDA is on planning, design, and construction of the city's physical environment. Under the FCDA, departments such as engineering for infrastructure designs and construction, urban and regional planning for land use zoning, mapping and surveying for geographic data collection and distribution, resettlement and compensation, and more operate. However, the city in its entirety is also managed through the Federal Capital Territory Administration, the FCTA, headed by a minister who is appointed by the country's president and assisted by a permanent secretary like other federal ministries in the country. The FCDA comprises its own sets of different secretariats, departments, and agencies. In some cases, the functions overlap between the FCDA and the departments of the FCTA. For example, the Abuja Geographic Information System (AGIS) of the FCTA performs similar statutory function as the Survey and Mapping Department of the FCDA. In other cases, their functions are complementary. For example, the Development Control Department of the FCTA works to ensure that the zoning and land use plans prepared or approved by the Urban and Regional Planning Department of the FCDA are not abused by developers. One other branch of the FCTA that is very relevant to urban management is the Abuja Metropolitan Management Council (AMMC), which is responsible for the efficient running and operation of municipal services within the FCT. If you are confused, don't feel alone because it's quite difficult to draw clear lines between the many administrative branches of the FCT. Remember still that some of these secretariats, departments, and agencies have scope of services that cover the entire Federal Capital Territory, while some are limited to the Federal Capital City. If you have any further information that can clarify just how the city is managed, kindly share them in the comments. I'll be happy to learn from you too. Meanwhile, here's an organogram that tries to capture the entire FCT administrative structure. Construction of Abuja started in the early 1980s, coinciding with Nigeria's oil boom, a period when the country's GDP was exceedingly boosted by a sharp increase in global oil prices. Perhaps this is why Phase 1 got to enjoy its level of infrastructure development. But about 4 decades later, the city still seems to be a huge construction site, as the implementation of the Abuja Master Plan has been slow and staggered, and many developments that should have become iconic landmarks remain incomplete or yet to be functional. For example, construction of the World Trade Center started in 2010. Since that time, only 2 out of the 7 planned towers have been topped out. For comparison, when its construction started, land was still being reclaimed from the Atlantic Ocean for Eco Atlantic in Lagos, which has now topped out 4 towers, with several others ahead of the construction stage of the other World Trade Center towers. Another example is the Abuja Millennium Tower and Cultural Center, where construction started in 2006. With a height of about 170 meters, the Millennium Tower is the tallest man-made structure in Nigeria, only closely followed by the NACOM building in Lagos, which is about 160 meters high. But the tower and the accompanying cultural center is still under construction and has been abandoned for years due to financial complications. The many abandoned buildings in the city have been identified by different researchers as blind spots for criminal activity or hideaways. Nonetheless, Abuja can still boast of iconic